Hey everybody, welcome back to another special show looking at global politics. This time around, we're going to look at the Gulf of America and, of course, the Trump's oil and gas boom that is expected from his oil and gas strategy for the United States. Obviously, Gulf of America is going to be a huge part of that. We're going to look at that during this live stream. Now, obviously, going to be looking at two executive orders. Particularly from the 20th of January and, of course, yesterday as well. So we're going to check that out. It's going to be pretty excellent. So get in the chat there, folks. Make it lively. All comments welcome. Obviously, respectful. That's how we roll. So let's get into it. Global politics, Gulf of America, and Trump's oil and gas boom. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's get on to it. So what we saw was 20th of January. We saw Trump do an executive order unleashing American energy. So this is going to be transformational. He obviously, when he was president at number 45, back, between 2016, etc. onwards, he made amazing moves on energy at that time around. This time he is supercharging it and unleashing American energy, particularly after the Biden regime dampened down, thermal energy coming into the market. So now, obviously, America's still been producing some pretty record levels, but are pretty essentially based on Trump's policies prior. So we're going to get into all that. Now, some of the key things that Trump has done with unleashing American energy is essentially to open up, America's chance of really creating a ton of wealth and, of course, lowering inflation. Those are kind of some of the key things Trump's been focusing on, right? Increasing wealth, lowering inflation prices, and of course that will also have an impact on global wars as well. So it's going to be pretty impact there because obviously Trump, America will be pumping out tons of oil and gas. So very excited to see that. Hey, we've got a couple of people in the house there. We've got Brian. Good to see Brian in the house there, folks, and Hedgehog as well. Well, welcome. All right, so we had a couple of things happen from the executive order. We saw day one, we saw Trump pull back all of Biden's orders and actions. So that has a huge, especially around environment and climate change and many other things. So he's pulled a lot of that back, investment, cars, etc. So pretty impressive, repealing all that stuff to open up a boom in thermal energy, oil and gas in particular, and LNG. So that's been pretty exciting. Obviously, also moving to unleash American energy is one of the key principles there, which is also going to, reduce regulations, make things get pushed through a lot easier, and of course, obviously, pulling back even more of Biden's executive orders there, setting up a number of processes to get rid of a lot of the things holding back America from building and producing. Another thing we saw also was Trump declaring a national energy emergency, which declared the supply and energy and critical minerals as well, associated with infrastructure to be inadequate and cause of high prices. So it pulled out some energy emergency there. Now, obviously, Trump's been using quite a lot of emergency powers to get the U.S. economy to grow really, really well and unleash the potential in America, which had been hamstringed under the Biden administration. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see all that. And of course, he's directed the administrator of the EPA, Secretary of Energy, to issue fuel waivers and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of really advanced stuff happening in West Coast, Northeast, Alaska, etc. in the United States. So it's going to be a really big deal there. He's also temporary withdrawal of all areas for the outer continental shelf from offshore wind leasing and review of the federal government's leasing and permitting practices for wind. So that's particularly off the East Coast, the West Coast, off the coast of Alaska, and of course in the Gulf of America, those outer continental shelf zones. There are 4 of them. So that's going to dampen down the wind. Obviously, wind's creating a lot of intermittency, and of course he wants to. And a base load was closed down. A lot of base load was closed down during the Biden period, so they want to boom a base load, and of course particularly thermal energy for electricity. They also are looking to unleash Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. And so we're looking at ANWR there. So we're going to have a look at that in the video as well. So it's a pretty big deal, some of the stuff that Trump has put into play moving forward to unleash the energy. So we're going to check that out. We've got a little video of Trump there signing the executive order from yesterday as well. So we're going to cover that. So that is a bit of a summary of unleashing the energy there. And of course, that includes Alaska's extraordinary resource potential, also signed on the 20th of January. So that's been pretty awesome. And that's going to be massive, right? Potentially massive, somewhere between, what is it? Somewhere like 8 to 11 billion barrels of oil there, minimum. Could be really, really large. And of course, potentially bigger than Saudi Arabia's oil. So it just shows you how big that could be. So now we've got, obviously, also on the 14th of February, Trump here established a National Energy Dominance Council. So continuing the theme from 20th of January. And of course, that was unleashing America's energy. Now he's doubling down on that, establishing the National Energy Dominance Council with a whole ton of superstars to really accelerate where that's going to go. So we're going to look at a couple of the videos there of Trump signing the executive order, including who's going to be running that, right? So the National Energy Dominance Council will be established from the executive office of the president, chaired by the Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum. So it's Doug Burgum, the Secretary of the Interior, will be chairing that, and vice chaired by the Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, and comprised of members of President Trump's cabinet and key government agencies. So these guys are serious about opening up the U.S. energy there. I think it's going to be a really, really incredible. Hey, we've got Crispy in the house there. Good to see Crispy. 5555. Loving that. And a big thumbs up there from Brian. Looking good. I love that American shield there. And so, yeah, that's going to be pretty powerful. The council will advise President Trump on strategies to achieve energy dominance. It will also recommend national energy dominance strategy to the president aimed at cutting red tape. The council will facilitate cooperation between the federal government and domestic energy partners, ensuring policy consistency. It will also consult on various public and private sector stakeholders to expand energy production. So a big deal there. They're going to look to lower energy prices and strengthen the American economy. It's going to be huge. So American energy dominance is the most reliable way to ensure stability and affordability for American energy prices, particularly gasoline prices, which increased 30% under President Biden. So that's a huge part of the household budget, of course. So really amazing. This is going to be huge. So what the Biden-Harris administration was holding back, Trump's about to unleash. So a lot of cool stuff happening there as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go through all this, but we're going to check out some of the decent aspects to this. In particular, LNG is going to be a big focus of the Trump administration as well. So we're going to check that out as well. So pretty awesome stuff. Let's check out Trump there introducing the executive order for the National Energy Dominance Council there. So let's check that out.
Okay, and here is an executive order establishing the National Energy Dominance Council. So that will be chaired by the Secretary of the Interior, Mr. Burgum, and the Vice Chair, Chris Wright. And so this will reduce costs with respect to energy, establish American independence with energy, and also unleash energy dominance.
Good, thank you. And this is a big deal. We have more energy than any other country, and now we're unleashing it, to put it nicely.
So that was Trump signing that executive order, and it's going to be a big deal. Really is a superstar lineup in that committee, and of course they're going to bring a lot of other people as well in that Energy Dominance Council, which is pretty exciting. Now, during the executive order session, we're signing, Trump got each of the committee members to talk about some of the initiatives that were happening straight out of the gate. We're expecting more and more of those in the weeks ahead, which is going to be pretty exciting. So let's hear from the chair, and he's going to talk about some of the potential that's going to be opening up here. But just to give an idea of what the current revenue is for oil and gas, let's check it out as well. So current oil and gas at the moment, looking at around about $244 billion US dollars in 2023. In 22, it was 330 billion. And so this oil and gas is expected to really climb. And we're talking about moving, $1 trillion plus. I mean, these guys have got big goals for where they're going to head this oil and gas revenue in the world. So it's going to be pretty stellar to see that play out. So I think that's going to be pretty huge. In the United States, of course, at the moment, they're currently producing about 13 million barrels a day of oil. So that's about how much they're doing, which is pretty amazing. Compare that to Saudi Arabia, which is probably doing about 12 million barrels, and OPEC doing about 21 million barrels. So 12.9 million barrels, huge amount. In fact, the lion's share of the non-OPEC producers, so pretty big there. And in terms of gas production, also producing, 2023 produced about 38 trillion cubic feet of dry natural gas, particularly out of Texas, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, West Virginia, and New Mexico. So some massive outputs there. But of course, oil having huge upside, and quite a bit of that natural gas, that dry gas in particular, coming from shale in America, right? So quite a bit of it coming from shale, particularly from the northeast, the south, and a little bit in the I guess the north central, let's say, of the United States, where a lot of shale is in the United States there. Obviously, Canada's got a lot of shale as well, but that is where a lot of the gas is coming to for that dry gas production in the United States. So some pretty big stuff. Now, these guys are going to be looking to unleashing even more. So let's check out that. And we're going to look at the next video with the chair, talk about how big some of the reserves they're going to look at tapping. This is going to change and shake up the world supply. This is not the small deal. This is a huge deal, not just for America, but for the global shakeup in the oil and gas markets and other markets associated.
To ask Doug, you're going to be heading it up. You and Chris, would you say a few words about it, please?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Good afternoon. President Trump wisely understood that under the Biden administration, there was a war against American energy, and today that war officially has ended. President Trump on day one declared a national energy emergency, and this is a real emergency because under the Biden administration restricted the production of oil and gas. Production's still coming, but when you stop holding leases, when you take 625 million acres of land out of ocean land, out of production possibilities through an executive order, you're really restricting the balance sheet of America. But today, as President Trump said, this is unleashed. The National Energy Dominance Council will be made up, all the folks that are standing beside me here, other cabinet leaders, and many more, represent President Trump's wise decision that we need a whole of government approach to unwind. The Biden administration had a whole of government approach that had the war against U.S. energy. Now we need to turn that around 180 degrees and unleash that potential. We've got to unleash it from the Gulf of America all the way up to Alaska. We have amazing resources in this country, and we haven't been getting a return on them. Many of these are under public lands. The interior has 500 million acres of surface, 700 million acres of subsurface minerals, critical minerals, and offshore close to 2 billion acres. And that balance sheet is the biggest balance sheet in the world, and it's been completely underutilized. Everybody knows we have 36 trillion in debt as a country, but no one knows how many hundreds of trillions of dollars of assets we have. And President Trump is asking us to go get a return on that investment for the American people. And with that, we're going to have prosperity at home with lower prices, and we're also going to have peace abroad.
So that is massive, what they're talking about opening up. 500 million acres of surface and 700 million below surface of chemicals and minerals there, and oil and gas is huge. And of course, 2 billion offshore. That is ginormous potential. So you're talking about, like I said, 37 trillion in debt in the United States, potentially hundreds of trillions of oil and gas and other chemicals and things like that are available to tap. So you can see, maybe the Democrats helped spend all that money, as well as bad Republicans in the Unity Party. But he's looking to deal with that debt dramatically, not only through balancing the budgets to start off with, but also unleashing the balance sheet on the US, and of course opening up all those reserves, and of course has declared an emergency, as we said. So really truly is unleashing the energy supply. Really powerful stuff here moving forward. So I really do like that. Let's listen to that, just that little section there that you remember. This is really big there. So let's move on. We're going to look at how Biden, you heard Doug there talking about how Biden had constrained the US. Let's have a look at what we mean by that. And we're going to be looking at the leases that were available, right? So the leases that were available under Obama was leasing, this is federal land, and I believe it excludes Indian land there, so federal land, and 1.2 million acres there up for grabs. And you could see that 2013 through 2016. Remember that the United States couldn't actually export oil until 2015, and 810,000 acres of land was given up there for lease for oil and gas. Now, moving into Trump era, 2017 to 2020, you can see a massive jump there in acres available. And of course, in 2017, it was 93% increase compared to the final year of the Obama administration. And that's massive, right? All up to 2019. And that's paid off right through the Biden age, where we got record production in the United States, oil and gas, and particularly 23, 24, getting some incredible numbers out of the US there. So this is, Trump sowed the seed, and the Americans benefited. And even by the time we got into the Biden-Harris administration, they went for renewables, which is pretty high. They're all high-cost, intermittent technologies. And of course, they were doing lots of subsidies, so it was very costly for the US. And then they were also, they killed off all the acreage available from 21, 22, 23, and 24 for the oil and gas sector. So really dampen that down, and a real attack on thermal energy, and a massive loss of money. And we're probably talking, $1 or $2 trillion. I mean, it really is massive how much that hit the US economy. People don't care. They don't care that the Americans lost all this wealth potential, and America would have been a lot better off, right? We got Diamond Hands in the chat there. Good to see you, Diamond Hands. Welcome, and definitely like it up. That's for sure. Thanks, Brian. So you can see how the Biden administration held back America, and now Trump is going to unleash the energy potential and even supercharge what he's done in their first era as president at number 45 in 2017, 2020. So it's going to be pretty amazing. So, what some of the things that he's going to be doing. Let's have a look at the network of the America, and see how big America's infrastructure already is. And it's going to be much bigger by the time President Trump gets finished with over the next 4 years. So this here is some of the key pipelines for oil, and there's both light oil and heavy oil. And you can see a lot of the major ones. So the major pipelines are in red, and you can see that comes down from Canada, a lot of the shale oil and stuff like that. And then you've also got the American pipelines coming through the American pipelines here as well, particularly through the center, all going down to the south there to the Gulf of America, and particularly into Texas, and where a lot of the oil and gas, gas production is there, and ports, right, and refineries. So it's a pretty big network. Now, this is just the big stuff. The stuff in green is selected other crude oil pipelines. The major existing crude oil pipelines carrying Canadian crude as well are in red. You got to remember that a lot of stuff from Canada is what they call sour crude, and that means it's got a high sulfur content, typically over 0.5%, compared to what they call sweet crude, which is got a low, less than 0.5% sulfur content, therefore much cheaper to process in a refinery. So a lot of Canadian sour oil there comes through the US and gets refined. This has been a big criticism from Poilievre against Trudeau, who held back a lot of the industry in Canada. In other words, their own refineries, and of course their own export markets. So America's been, captured all that because, of course, Trudeau, was against real growth, and of course following this climate madness, basically, and shutting everything down with renewables. And of course that meant that America got the benefit from it all, right? So now the other side of it is that Canada does benefit because the oil comes down from the west there, gets processed, and ends up going through the south to the east side of Canada as well. So Canada does get the benefit of that as well. We got Ishrad announced there. Good morning, sir. Good to see you, Ishrad. Hope you're doing well. So that is pretty crazy stuff there. Now we're going to move on into how big. So that's Canada and crude oil pipelines and refineries. And of course, a lot of refineries, down in the Gulf of America down there, particularly Houston, Port Arthur, etc., Lake Charles as well. Now we're going to look at some of the other stuff. The very big controversy once Trump went through his first term as President 45 into Biden, President 46, was the Keystone XL pipeline. You may have heard about that. And you can see it in the dashed line here, this dashed green line here. And of course, the company that was going to proceed with that has pretty much moved on from this. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Trump can resurrect this or not. Obviously, he's pulling together very powerful business people. So this may get resurrected, particularly if there's an energy, oil and gas boom, right? So we'll see how that goes in the next couple of years. Trump has talked about it, but that's still uncertain. Now, the company that was going to be doing it has moved on to doing water infrastructure, and that's something, and water infrastructure, particularly into California as a water bank. So we saw that Trump got the Army engineers to go down and open up some of those water coming down from Canada all the way down to California after those big horrific fires in Los Angeles. And so Trump's done that, but now we've also got this water infrastructure being built as well. And that company has set up several $100 million US to start building that infrastructure. So we'll see whether they end up coming back into this pipeline now that Trump is about to unleash the energy with this, a Keystone XL pipeline here and the dashed green line. You can see that other pipes proposed and under construction there. Pretty important there. Now there has been, a lot of main lines coming down here. So we've got the Enbridge pipelines in red, and we've got the Enbridge pipelines joint ownership there in blue. You can see those in blue. They're joint ownership there. These are crude oil pipelines and refinery pipes. And then we've got the Enbridge pipelines there in I guess it's a yellow, orange there color as well. And then, of course, the other pipelines are all in green, these sort of smaller ones here. So that's showing you some of the upgraded pipelines. Now, we're going to have more pipelines because we're going to have ones going up to, particularly around gas, going up to New York. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And, of course, if we overlay the gas lines with the petroleum and crude oil pipelines, it's a huge network, right, in the United States. And you can particularly see that down near the Gulf of America, where a lot of refineries are, a lot of lines lead from the shale fields, oil fields in the United States and Canada, end up in the Gulf of America there. And of course, you can see the networks. Can you see the networks going out into the ocean? So we'll scroll down there. You can see the ocean there in the Gulf of America. All these pipelines underwater are pretty much going to a lot of these offshore oil rigs and stuff like that. So pretty crazy stuff there. Now you can see petroleum terminals all in green. There's gold green blocks. So there's heaps of those. You can sort of see them all those petroleum terminals. You can also see liquid natural gas terminals. So if we zoom in on that, you can also see that. So there's one there, one there, one there. So you got liquid natural gas. Now the orange lines are natural gas pipelines. So you can see all of those network infrastructures. Maybe you got a restaurant. I don't know. We've got the petroleum pipelines in green, and then in blue we've got these crude oil pipelines as well, all the way going up to Canada there, and they're all over the place. So pretty amazing stuff there with the network for sure. So huge network. It's going to only get bigger, and one of those things that's going to be bigger is going to be natural gas pipelines up to New York. So we're going to pull that one in because that's one I was going to talk about. So let's have a quick look at Trump talking about that, and then we're going to have a look at what that is. He's talking about going up to New York, into New England, which I think was where Brian's been recently. So we got Crispy in there. Howdy, good to see you, Crispy. And let's play this video of the New York pipeline, and it's a gas one there.
Working on a project that has been under wraps for 20 years. Everybody wanted it. It's been held up by New York. It's a pipeline that will bring down the energy prices in New York and in all of New England by 50, 60, 70%. It should have been done years ago. We'll be speaking to New York, and the New York is actually the biggest beneficiary because their energy costs are very high. This will reduce them very substantially. But all of the governors want this to happen, and I think it's going to happen. It's now going to happen. It's something that's would rather not have to go eminent domain. We'll do that if we have to in New York, but hopefully we won't have to do that. This again will bring down energy prices in New England by numbers that nobody can even believe, probably 50, 60%, maybe even more than that. A lot of them don't even pay energy because they have no energy. They use logs. They go out and they cut down a tree. It's really a terrible situation. So we're going to get this done, and we can have it done once we start construction. We're looking at anywhere from 9 to 12 months, if you can believe it. It's going to go very rapidly.
All right, so we saw that from Trump. Now, if we go back to that New England pipeline, we can see actually that there's not a lot up in that area. So it's probably quite needed. Now, I think there's been quite a bit of resistance from activist groups in that area. But let's have a quick look at what that looks like. This is what I believe the pipe line's going to be through New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts here. So I believe this is the one they're talking about. Yeah, let's see how that goes moving forward. All right, so that is around the New York pipeline. So you can see we're going to get more pipes, and that's going to have more domestic demand. It's going to serve more businesses, and particularly up in the pretty wealthy area up in New York and New England up there. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see that too. Now, moving from pipelines, there's going to be a lot more happening in there. So we're going to quickly check out down in the south here. So let's quickly go to. I'm going to go down to the. We're going to go down to the Gulf Deep Port here. So this is huge. This next one is going to be massive for exports. So moving away from domestic demand and gas pipelines, we've got this Gulf Deep oil port, and this is ginormous. This is going to be absolutely massive. So
we are going to move forward with a permitting process for the Texas Gulf Link deep water port, making sure we can move energy in and out of the country. So that was held up for 5 years, and it was stonewalled. Bureaucrats got in the way. We're now going to move forward with that, making sure we have great oil infrastructure in the country.
All right, so that's talking about this Gulf. That's down in the Gulf of America and going to be down in Texas. And so we're going to have a quick look at what that looks like, because it's absolutely massive. I mean, this is global scale stuff. So let's check it out. So it's the Texas Gulf Link. And of course, at the moment, they've got tons of ships that go in there. They can't get into, they're so big, they can't get in the deep water. And they've got lots of issues there. And also the loading time is very long. So it's going to speed all that up, right? So it's pretty awesome. I think there's a little chart down here. We're going to check that out. So this is the kind of idea here. Basically, they're going to have the big ships out in the deep water, and they're going to have basically this big manned fixed platform facility. So we're going to quickly check this out, and we'll zoom in on that a little bit there. But you can kind of see what it's going to be looking like off the coast. So you got the Texas Gulf Terminal, crude oil storage tanks, the big storage tanks on the coast. And then, of course, that's 12 miles out to the ocean there. And then you're going to have the manned fixed platform facility equipped with metering, surge, and security systems, something a radar surveillance there. That's going to be out to 30 miles. And then another 1.5 miles out into the deep water, you're going to have this this oil reserve, which they're going to be able to fill up the oil tankers, right? So crude oil subsea hoses, and it's going to just come up here, and they're going to hook up the ship to it and fill up the oil ship, the big giant ones, like these are really big. And of course, they'll be able to moor there, and they fill up and then go. So that gets rid of the trouble of having shallow water with these big ships, right? And you can see the pipelines going underneath from the storage tanks underground there as well to this manned fixed platform surveillance, and then going down deeper to the bottom, and then coming back up about 106 feet of water depth there for these big ships, right? So that's really huge. And this is going to get rid of, at the moment, they have a lot of smaller ships come along to a big ship, and then they all load up there. But this is going to be 3 times faster than that, and it's going to be quite a game changer, and particularly accelerate exports there. But this Texas Gulf link is pretty amazing, really. So that is a little diagram there. Let's scroll back down up here. I think we've got a bit more that we're going to talk about, and I think we've got some little diagrams down here too. Not sure if I've got these on here, but yeah, here's a good example of it here. So at the moment, you have what they use, reverse lightering there. That's what they call it. That's what they currently use down in Texas there. And they have all these boats, docking and undocking from these big loading Aframaxes boats here, 1.5 days to do it all. So it's really a big problem. And then, of course, they've got this at sea and in lighting area as well, just waiting as well to get, to fill up. Whereas this is going to be a lot faster. You're going to have a quarter of a day to fill up, and so with these big loading vehicles. So, and for a big giant loading one here, like a big oil one, 1.7 days. So it's going to really change things up there for that. So pretty exciting for that. So from one half days, it's going to be really quick. All right, so pretty cool. Let's jump over. Yeah, that looks like the big one is actually 10 days. So it's going to go over 10 days, 1.7 days. How about that? Pretty amazing. So yeah, it's going to be a big deal there for America and really accelerate all the exports of oil. So a pretty big deal. Now we're going to get into another bit of the update that they had. So let's check this out. So we talked about the network going to be built out. Talked about this new Gulf Link terminal. It's going to be down in the Gulf of America off Texas there. That's going to be a game changer for shipping. And of course, that's now going to get support and move ahead. And of course, get ready for all these oil exports, which I said only just started in 2015, exporting oil from America. And it's really going to start booming there as well. Like I said, they're producing about 13 million barrels a day at the moment, slightly more than Saudi Arabia, so which is about 12 million, so give or take. So pretty exciting. Now, Future Forward says need refineries and fracking companies are actually profitable. Most of the frack companies are zombie now since frack is not profitable as a business model. Yeah, that's definitely been an issue, particularly for Canadians. Let's get into it around ANWR. Now, ANWR is kind of the big gold in the middle, like the elephant in the room, because ANWR is absolutely going to be huge. This is up in Alaska. So we've been talking about the mainland of the United States. Now we're going up to Alaska, and let's check this out because it's going to be absolutely huge.
Yes, than anybody else in the world. We're opening up ANWR again. As you know, we got something Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. No president was able to do it. I got it. And the first week in office, the Biden administration terminated that. ANWR is the biggest site, probably bigger than Saudi Arabia. We don't know yet, but it's of that size or bigger. And we hit gold, and I call it liquid gold, but we hit gold, and for whatever reason, they terminated it. And we were just ready to start utilizing it. This could take care of all of Asia, energy-wise, very close to Japan. In fact, Japan wants to go and be our partner doing the pipeline going right into the ships. So they expressed tremendous interest. So did Prime Minister Modi of India. And just in closing, both Prime Minister Modi and the Prime Minister of Japan, both very good people, they said, we couldn't make a deal. We couldn't get any energy. I mean, you wonder what was going on with our country. They couldn't make a deal to get any energy from the Biden administration. They just couldn't do it. There was nobody to deal with. They didn't know how to go about it. And they're very happy that we're here. But we're going to really benefit our taxpayers, and we're going to benefit our country.
So when they're talking about ANWR, they're obviously talking about up here in Alaska. And this is ANWR area here, largely federal land and green. And INPRA as well, and potentially just absolutely ginormous reserves there. Some of them have to be proven up, but initial studies that I've seen is upwards of 11 billion barrels, which is ginormous. And of course, you can get multi-million barrels out of that a day. A couple million barrels probably at least. So this is going to be massive. And obviously, he talked about, interesting enough, you probably wondered why the Japanese Prime Minister and the Indian Prime Minister came. Well, for many reasons. Obviously, they have a good relationship and they're allies, but they actually are the big consumers for oil and gas. So very interesting alignment there with the energy. See, Trump and his team know what they're doing, and it's pretty huge. So this ANWR up in Alaska there, massive opportunity, and of course, ginormous reserves, potentially way bigger than even the Saudi reserves. And so it's going to be really amazing to see that, be tapped out there as well. So pretty awesome stuff there. Now we're going to be looking at some of the stuff here with some of the terminals. Now we've got obviously LNG terminals as well in the United States. You can see them particularly in the Gulf of America there and along the East Coast as well. Some of the big ones there at Cove Point, Corpus Christi, Hackberry, Albert Island, Freeport, Sabine, and Kenai there in the United States. You can see those all listed there. And so, America's got a lot of opportunity to get exports out of oil, gas, LNG as well. Now, one of the big areas here, of course, is with the LNG. is that Japan up here and India are really big importers. So it's going to be a huge opportunity, and both those two countries are the ones that came to see Trump first, along with the King of Jordan around and Israel around the Gaza issue, right? So, but in terms of the energy, who was it? It was the Japanese and the Indians there that turn up at the White House. So all playing out very, very nicely here by Mr. Trump, the 47th president of the United States. So really going to be interesting to see that play out as well. So some pretty awesome stuff there. Let us know what you think, because that is some of the stuff that he's announced already. They've got more big announcements coming up ahead of us, which is going to be pretty exciting to see that as well. So look forward to that. Now, some of the other things I want to say is some of the big companies in the United States that do oil and gas production, you're thinking of BP, ExxonMobil, companies like that, they're already using Gulf of America on their websites, which is great to see. They know what's good, right? They know it's good, and it's very, very nice to see that. So you can see BP here with Gulf of America and on their website, and of course talking about all the stuff they're going to be doing. It's a boom time for them. Trump is, Trump is their president because they're going to be able to actually expand all of their activity in the Gulf of America there with their platform and resources there. So you can see a lot of their oil platforms there. So it's going to be huge. They've also got several discovered resources as well. Those are going to be accelerated, no doubt. So yeah, pretty exciting. And you have these future platforms as well, the Tiber and the Cascade there for BP. So things are really about to explode in the United States. Yeah, going to be absolutely awesome. Pretty cool. Now, obviously, some of the big stuff happening in America there. They have the longest crude oil pipeline networks in North America, and of course, they're producing pretty much has doubled from 2010 to 5.2 million barrels in America in 2010 to about 11.5, or it's closer to 12.9 million at the moment in 2023-24. And so, yeah, but the pipeline network needs to transport this newly produced oil have only expanded by roughly 6%. So it's going to be quite a lot of expansion, I think, in the pipelines, and maybe we might get, maybe we'll get the Excel. But like as you point out, a lot of the shale stuff is, pretty uneconomic, and the business models not working too hard there. And we'll see how that goes. So yeah, we've got a number of them in Texas and Louisiana there, and of course the length of the crude oil pipeline there, based on the ownership of these companies. So these companies own the networks that allow that oil to be transported. Enbridge itself, which we looked at those pipelines, currently owns the next largest crude oil pipeline with 13,000 miles of crude oil pipelines that are at least 10 inches in diameter. We've got someone in the Discord that does a lot of these pipelines. So big shout out to you, excavator out there. We got Plains Pipeline owns 15,000. Enbridge there a second amount, 13,000. We saw that on the map. Sinoco there, 6,400 miles of pipeline, and so forth. So pretty exciting stuff there. The largest crude oil refineries in North America. They're producing a ton of crude oil. We've got Motiva Enterprises there, 607,000 barrels per day capacity, and Marathon Petroleum there. These are all in Texas, 585,000 barrels per day. Marathon Petroleum in Louisiana there, 578,000. ExxonMobil in Texas and Louisiana, 560,000, 518,000 barrels per day. Pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy stuff. So some big companies there. Maybe you can get a job with them, get some of that high paid payment there from these guys. So pretty awesome. All right, so that is kind of where I wanted to head with that. That was some of the key announcements from Trump, which I think was pretty amazing. And we're expecting to get a lot more things happening in the future. Future Forward says, do you think there is merit in preserving the land in the annual reason? Was it useless or overplayed in its environmental impact? A lot of it's very, I've seen several images of it, several images. Obviously, it's a large area, but I have seen a lot of like, what do you call it, like almost swampland type areas. So, they'll still be considered about the environmental impact. But of course, technology is pretty advanced these days. They can also mitigate a lot of that too. So good question though. Well worth looking forward, to what some of those assessments are moving ahead as they, further prove up those reserves, right, that are there and the environmental consequences of tapping it in. But it's massive, right? So potentially bigger than Saudi, 11 billion barrels plus. So we'll see how that goes. So good question of the day there. Hope you guys enjoyed today. 40 minutes on the stream. Global politics, the Gulf of America, and Trump's oil and gas boom. It's just ramping up. We're looking forward to more announcements in the weeks ahead around this. So probably more partnerships. We just saw an LNG plant that's been approved off the coast of in the Gulf of America. That is the LNG plant. That's going to be about 9 months to get that up and running. It's got all its permits and everything. So look forward to that, getting into market as well. So yeah, probably within 12 months, we'll see a lot of impact from a lot of this early new stuff. And then in the, year 2, year 3, it's still just start growing really fast because these guys aren't going to muck around. Trump's really looking to unleash energy and, pay off their balance sheet and utilize the balance sheet there, I think. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Diamond says W stream, W Trump. Yeah, win-win. Nice. All right. Take care, everybody. Catch you on the next show. Until then, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell. And,